The Tribal Health and Human Services Department of the Confederated Salish and Kootenai Tribes is proud to present Good Medicine, a program dedicated to the wellness of the Flathead Nation. The mission is summarized quite simply: a healthier people, a stronger nation. We will strive to make Good Medicine a reliable source of ideas and information about health issues so that everyone can make informed decisions about their own lifestyle and health care. You will meet health professionals, tribal government and spiritual leaders, and interesting people from the tribal community discussing important health issues that profoundly affect us all.
Good afternoon, I'm Roxanne Coleman-Herrick, and today I'm going to be hosting Good Medicine, and I have some very, very interesting guests. You're with the National Coalition Building Institute in Missoula, and one of the programs I understand that you're involved in is Respect Clubs.
Yep. Yes.
So, first I'd like to ask, how old are you?
14.
I'm 15 recently.
And where do you go to high school?
Hellgate, both of us, in Missoula.
Excellent. Well, tell me how this Respect Club, tell me about Respect Club. What is it and how did you get involved?
Well, I know that for me at least, I heard about it in 7th grade back at my middle school, Washington Middle School, also in Missoula. And I thought, well, that's an intriguing concept, the idea that you could have a club basically based on the idea of like reaching out in your community and finding kind of mutual understanding with others you wouldn't necessarily always connect with. But I kind of had a busy year, so I didn't really join up until 8th grade.
Yeah, one of my friends had been in it since 6th grade and she really liked it, so in 8th grade she invited me to go and one of my other friends was invited to join, and so I just tagged along and I liked it, so I stayed.
So what is Respect Club all about? What are some of the things that you're doing in this program in Missoula?
Well, I think we just try to prevent prejudice and we talk it out and how we can help other people in the schools. And
yeah, and a large part of it's just connecting with people, like going places, meeting new people.
Venting,
lots of venting, telling stories, just trying to like connect with people on a, oh hey, this is something about my life, now you share with me, and then we have a bond.
Yeah, and it's very different people, like it's not just one like clique of people,
yeah.
It's all different kinds.
Are there cliques in schools? Is there discrimination?
Oh yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Well, let's talk about that.
Okay, well, a recent experience that I've witnessed, some boys, a couple boys, were kissing, I guess, I didn't see this personally, in the hall at our school, and we have pretty lax PDA rules, so I guess no one really like said anything, but then a group of children who hadn't really grown up in that environment, I suppose they were from a different nearby town, they all like just got together and they recognized all each other from like, you know, middle school, and they were like, did you see those two boys kissing? Did you see that? Did you see what they were just doing? And they just like were like so freaked out by it, and everybody else was like, and like what's the deal here? So yeah, it's kind of interesting how when you mix different groups, it takes them a while to kind of like equate and chill out about little things.
Yeah, well, there's also like, I don't know, there's just classified groups, I guess, of like the people who just hang out because of soccer, and then the people who hang out for like artsy things, and sometimes there's like rivalries between them just because they have just because they're different.
And I think it's kind of interesting. There's kind of a like supposed rivalry between Hellgate High School and Sentinel High School, but I think that the actual rivalries within our own school are way stronger than anything outside of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So those connections are really important. So if I'm understanding correctly, the Coalition Building Institute is to maybe help students to recognize the likenesses instead of the differences? Is that kind of what I'm...
Yeah. It's to kind of help them, to educate through shared experiences about how, when it comes down to it, we're all just kind of the same people with the same desires, and no activity or sport or interest can really change that in us. Because the basic makeup of everyone just brings, I don't know, it just brings everyone together if you think about it. Yeah, everyone wants happiness, everyone wants this and that, and nobody wants to hurt or be hurt. You know, pretty basic stuff.
I think that's interesting. I just attended a speaking engagement in Great Falls with a group called Project Life, and the students were saying the same thing. It's like if you opened the floor to youth, they want to talk about what's really going on in the schools. And certainly when you put the question out, one of the questions that was asked was, what's a belief that you were brought up with that you've since learned is not true? So I'm going to ask you that question. What is something that you've kind of grown up with that you've just found not to be true?
Santa Claus.
Yeah. Oh.
No. You know, I think that for me, it hasn't really worked out that way. I think mostly for me, the beliefs that I learned when I was little, I didn't really think about them as much as I do now. Like, I found them to be truer than I did when I was younger, just through experience. So I don't think there's really anything for me that I specifically was prejudiced against that I found to be not, you know, applicable.
Yeah, I grew up in a really diverse community. I grew up in Chicago, and then I moved here. And I don't think there was anything that really changed. Like, I don't think I had any prejudice, really.
Good. So is prejudices were happening, and maybe that's how this whole Respect Club can maybe help to get those prejudices turned around?
It's just, I think when it comes down to it, it's all just about getting the word out, like, hey, we're all the same.
Yeah,
here's how.
Educating the kids at an early stage, I think, would be preferable. Yeah. Because once they're already stuck on hating someone, it's really hard to get them off of that.
Yeah, hatred based on principle, like principle hatred is so much harder to break than like experience hatred.
And it's also their parents. Like, a lot of kids learn it from home, so it's hard to judge them or to try to change their minds because they're like, well, that's what my parents have told me.
That's the whole thing. That's the beliefs sometimes that people are brought up with, and it can be very generational. We learn what we live, and at some point through your own experiences we find our way through that. Now, I was watching a video called Inside Out. This was probably one of the best videos I have ever seen. You both were in this video. Tell me what this whole experience, being part of a message that is now being looked at in a lot of communities, including our community. Tell us what that experience was like.
I think it's really exciting. I liked making the movie. It was cool just to get like all the different perspectives that people have, because they're like, people really do want to tell their stories. You just have to get them out there to.
Yeah, I really loved, I keep saying connection, and that's what I've really loved about that whole experience and what it's growing into, is just being able to meet all these people who I would never necessarily talk to, not because I didn't like them, just because I didn't really know that they had any interest in talking to me. And hearing people's experiences firsthand, like older people in my community, just people I wouldn't necessarily always connect with. It was just great to get a chance to do that.
Now, you have kind of an interesting background. I know when I was watching the video, I saw was that your grandmother?
And my grandmother.
And your great-grandmother. Yeah. Tell me how that all has played into maybe the stigma that goes around beliefs. Your grandmother talked a little bit about her life. Can you share a little bit about what your life was like? You are a descendant?
Yes.
Of
the Blackfeet tribe.
Okay.
And, well, it's really strange to go like from community to community, because when I was younger, I lived in Chicago, so during the school year, I'd be living in Chicago, and then I'd go to the reservation. and it's really different there because they have just totally different beliefs.